So the three, Portuguese fishermen, Catholic, die. They're the capsized boat, and they're, up waiting to get through heaven, and St. Peter has some sympathy for him, so he's going to make it easy getting in. It's like, hey, I'm just going to ask you, one, question to get on in here. So he asks the first guy. It's like, what is Christmas all about? Oh, I know this. This is where the Pilgrims they come and they hit Plymouth Rock, and they have this settlement, and they have this big feast with the Indians. He's not politically correct enough to say Native Americans, but anyway, and St. Peter says no, that's Thanksgiving. Asks the next one. It's like, okay, why do we celebrate Christmas? Oh, that's when the kids, they put on the costumes of the superheroes or the ghost, and they go knocking in door and asking for candy. It's like, no, that's Halloween. You're not even, no. Finally asks the third one. He goes, oh, okay. The baby, he's born, and the kings come and they see him, and there's no room in the hotel, the inn, so he sleeps in the manger. And when the kings come and they see the baby, and if the baby sees shadow, never mind.
No, there's a punchline.
I'm throwing myself off because I don't know what Portuguese. It's an
You were doing a
Italian
good
joke.
Portuguese.
It's an Italian joke.
Ah.
And I've always told this Italian joke, and I'm trying to make fun of a race that no one will be mad at me about, because let's face it,
Racism. Don't try this at home.
No. Scratch that off.
No.
All right, then keep that blow.
Hi, everybody. Too late.
What is a bad?
No breaks.
Give me a bad Portuguese American accent.
Hey, what you come over here come over here a minute. Hey, what are you talking about? I'm an Italian guy.
Yes. Is there a difference?
No, it's a little it's a little more Spanish oriented, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
You should know.
No, what do I know? I'm only a Portuguese American.
Well, no. Hey, welcome to Carnival Personnel. I'm Jacques.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Jim.
Thank you for being here as always, Jim.
You're welcome.
And thank you for listening to anyone who listened to the Sideshow. You listened to Sideshow the other day?
I have not.
Then you have no idea how special this Christmas was. What with our own Joseph's rendition of Edith Bunker's Santa Baby.
Yeah.
Which was, I'm going to have to say, was a tad bit more entertaining than your Jimmy Stewart Rudolph. But I'm not saying that Rudolph wasn't spectacular, but Edith Bunker.
I should have
Santa
opened
Baby.
with Rudolph with Jimmy Stewart, and then closed with Edith Bunker.
When you're a two-hit wonder, which really is your closing number.
I'm gonna have to listen.
It's worth a listen.
It really is. But
it's funny we have to coerce our podcast
partner.
Yeah.
But that was a fun episode, and it's like I've been going back and forth. I've got a couple tweets of like, oh, you left out this Christmas song. Did we talk about the 12 Pains of Christmas? Okay, because that was that's something that the little guys now absolutely love and stuff like that, and we've played it maybe 20 times. Oh yeah, we did talk about it. It's like, when did sending postcards become a homophobic, or
a homosexual
thing all of a sudden?
No, I think he was just happened to be a gay guy writing postcards.
Okay, so they had to throw a gay guy in there somewhere, so
yes.
We'll have him.
Well, he's not going to be ringing up the stringing up the lights. Yeah.
Why are they playing gay?
Rigging up the lights.
If you're so smart, you ring him up.
Yeah.
Give me a beer.
Shut up, you.
But that was great. All right, so let's get right into it. Jim, who's right here, he's on the podcast. Roy Moore, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? I got to hand it to you guys. That race was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought Roy Moore was going to win a little more handily than he did.
Roy Moore?
I'm sorry. I thought Doug Jones, I thought Doug Jones was going to win a little bit more handily than he did. And you guys kind of called that, and I was way off. I didn't see Roy Moore being able to hold any ground given everything that's going on, but he did. He took, basically took a lot of counties outside of the middle of the state there.
Here's the scary thing, and we've talked about before. Gerrymandering is the worst. That and Citizens United is just horrible. And Alabama last year was found guilty of gerrymandering, but they haven't redrawn the districts yet. Roy Moore won all but one district. And you're like, well, how is that possible? How did he lose the election but won every district but one? Because the way the gerrymandering has worked.
I'm looking at you with leery-eyed because I was watching the CNN stuff live.
Yeah, no,
He didn't win every district except one.
He won most, like 6 out of 7 districts. The 6 out of 7, yes, you can go.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking. Oh, maybe you're saying districts. I'm thinking counties.
Yeah, and so when they redrew the district lines to send people to Congress and stuff like that, you would think that Alabama is an all-red state because they only have, I think, one Democratic congressperson there. The state would be about 50-50 if the lines were drawn the way they were before 2000, I think it was 2010, where they redrew the lines and everything like that. Yeah. And so, it was the one big district that Jones won. He won by 28-29 points.
Well, the districts are drawn differently than counties are counties. Districts are drawn to assign representatives for the House of Representatives. So that's where the gerrymandering really takes effect.
Right. And that's so when you see those different districts and you see he won them all except one of the big ones.
But luckily it was a straight up
It was a straight out ballot. Right. So Jones had more voters throughout the state. And the amazing thing about him winning throughout the state is truly, and you heard about it, you heard about all the intimidation, the texts going out telling people that, oh, your district has been moved, the voting date had been moved, intimidation added. And again, in the poorest neighborhoods, in the most black neighborhoods, they had incredibly long hour waits, to vote and stuff like that. But still, people persevered.
And people were also encouraged. It's funny, you read people on Twitter, like Alyssa Milano, big liberal person. She goes down there. She was literally driving people to the polls.
Right.
And she also stated, look, if you're in line at 7 p.m. and they tell you to leave, don't, because you legally have the right, if you're in line, to vote. Yeah. So, they were it's funny, you have to tell, there's a lot of things you have to sort of remind people of, these are your rights for when it comes to voting. Even if it says, if you show up and you don't have a voter ID, but you're registered, you don't, there were ways around it, you didn't necessarily.
Well, people don't know. And it's just the week before a big announcement goes out that you need an updated driver's license. And then they turned around and what did they do?
Close the
they closed the DMVs in the state. It's that's the kind of, between gerrymandering and between outright dirty tricks and lying, it's amazing that, they did have, the votes. And the other thing that we talked about, and I would love your take on this, Jim, and I I'm always going to put you on the spot because you're the only one here. When a Roy Moore comes out and he openly says, in the last couple of weeks, the country was better off with slavery. Homosexuality is a crime that should have jail time. And these aren't cryptic read between the message Pepe the Frog things. These are flat out, these are his views. That we don't need any amendments past the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. And that's the one that, gave women the right to vote. That's the one that gave black the right to vote. That's the one that he also, has a number of times says things like the country went to shit in 1965. This is also a guy that the state police came out and said, yes, we had to ban him from malls, plural. So even if you don't believe the women allegations, here's a guy who says, being gay is a crime and we should go back to slavery. Yet the GOP, bloaters and the RNC. Yes.
What's the question?
Yeah. I think I got the question.
But how? How does somebody back somebody like this?
So here's the thing. When you say, I don't believe that he was the GOP's candidate. Surprise, surprise, I'm even going to come to Trump's defense here. He wasn't Trump's candidate. If you remember
Luther Strange.
Luther Strange. If you remember.
Good movie, by the way.
He wasn't the candidate. Trump, the GOP, however you want to say it, they really didn't want anything to do with this guy. This guy was pushed, shoved down their throats
by Steve Bannon.
They did. He was pushed down their throats. He was there. He got the nomination. We're in contentious battles, as you know, over health care. We're in contentious battles, as you know, with this tax reform and all that stuff. So I think it was really shoved down his throat. What it came down to is he was the GOP candidate. and he had nowhere to go. He needed that seat. He did back him. That's something that's either going to be held against him down the line or not held against him down the line. I don't know where people are going to go with that, but truthfully, I don't see that having a long-standing impact on him. That's just my personal opinion. I don't look at it. I don't know if his supporters are going to necessarily look at it as he backed a pedophile or he backed a pedophile or a racist or anything like that. The piece that and again, I'm the first one to admit I didn't think he was going to do as well as he did. I didn't think it was going to be as close as it was. You guys were right. I was wrong in that. I thought Doug Jones was going to have this thing in hand by 4, 5, 6, 7 points. Truthfully speaking, but I was.
And by the way, as of this recording, Roy Moore hasn't conceded. Yet.
He has not conceded yet, but that's
3 days later.
Again, that is what it is.
Another note is that this is also this. Is this the second time I think in within the last year that the GOP has had a candidate thrust upon them that they've been forced to have to sort of.
I don't recall. Is there?
I don't know. It sounds kind of familiar.
That they might have had a anybody but movement inside.
Until he was the candidate.
But at the end of the day, still, so when the allegations started to get hot and heavy, the RNC pulled funding for about 2 weeks. At the time when they pulled funding, Moore was up by 6, 7, 7, 8 points. As that gap closed, and they started to see, oh shit.
They started putting money
the funnel
back.
went on, and that's when Bloated started like openly campaigning for him,
robocalling.
Actually recording robocalls for him. So not like, oh, I'm going to send out one tweet and whatever happens.
Right. And to hold a rally for him in Pensacola, Florida, it was like, whatever. It's pretty awesome that to campaign for a guy who's in Alabama, you go to the border of Alabama Pensacola, and just because it's like that much closer to Mar-a-Lago.
Right, right.
I'm not actually setting foot in Alabama, but
Well, now here's the next hurdle, and again, this is why these are the things that I absolutely say the GOP is horrible and borders on being a terrorist organization.
I disagree with both those statements, by the way.
Okay,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
They border. They border on terrorism. So the NRA, they're straight up terrorist organization.
Yes, agreed.
Okay,
agreed.
Now go on.
In 2010, when there was an open seat in Massachusetts for when Ted Kennedy passed away, there was a runoff election and Scott Brown won. This was during, the push for the ACA, which became known as Obamacare. Scott Brown won a runoff election in December. Mitch McConnell insisted that they would shut down the government and they wouldn't do anything and they wouldn't allow them to take a vote until Scott Brown got seated. He had to be seated immediately. At the time, when the ACA process started, the Democrats held the House 60-40. They had a filibuster-proof majority. Scott Brown wins the runoff election, and Mitch McConnell holds everything up. And they made them seat Scott Brown instantly, not go to the winter break before they seat him. And he said it's not fair to the American people to not seat him before the vote. Well, we know what ended up happening. I mean, Obamacare gets gutted because of Scott Brown winning that election. Now, here it is 7 years later. The roles are exactly reversed. They're trying to rush through a horrible tax bill without any hearings or public anything. They only have a 2-person margin to get this through, and now Mitch McConnell, the same person. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like, oh, here's another GOP leader. This is the exact same person. He was minority leader in 2010. Now he's majority leader, and he's saying no, he will not seat Jones until after the winter session. And at the same time, they're saying we will get this tax bill through before Christmas. So he will, and the Democrats are coming out saying, wait a minute, you should swear him in before. Luther Strange should be out because by your own words, Mitch McConnell, the reason that you held up the SCOTUS seat is you're like, we have an election coming up in a year. We have to let the people spoke. The people spoke in Alabama. Doug Jones won. Seat him.
Allegedly.
allegedly, seat him now. But it's like, but you look confused. Do you not?
No, I'm listening. I'm just listening.
But yeah, it's the same guy, with roles reversed, now saying, oh, it's a moving goalpost. It's like, oh, because your guy won. If let's face it, if Roy Moore won, they would have said, Luther, thank you for your service. Roy Moore will take it from here.
Agreed.
So yeah, I just to go back a little bit on what you're saying, I don't think if the Republicans fall in line, I don't believe, assuming for the sake of argument, if Doug Jones was into the vote, I don't believe if all the Republicans were to fall in line, I don't think it would do anything to prevent the vote from prevailing. So
right.
I don't know what Senator McConnell's intentions are. I'm not going to assume them. They may or may not be a tactic to prevent him from coming in and voting. I have no idea. I think if they are concerned about it, and I think I said this the last time I was here, it's because I don't know if there is truly all full buy-in from all the Republicans necessary. I know we keep hearing the reports that this is good, it's going to go, it's going to happen. I know the last time I was here, you guys saying, no, it's going to pass, it's going through. And I kind of said, I'm not so sure it will. Well, here we are. We're a week or two out.
But they did. They passed the initial.
Correct. No, and I understand that. I'm talking about at the end of the day, this thing being signed, done, acted into law. I don't know if we're there. You were still getting a lot of feedback / I'll call kickback from several Republican senators. Never mind anything like the addition of
right. But where Mitch McConnell was adamant when Scott Brown won in 2010, you have to seat him and seat him now. And now he's saying, no, we're not going to seat him. Part of Roy Moore not conceding is you don't get a recount, an automatic recount, unless you're within, 0.5, percent. And that's for a federal thing. And the who do you call it, that the head vote counter for the state, who openly said, yes, I voted for Moore, but he's not, even if we wait for all these write-ins to be tallied, even if we wait for the overseas military count, he's not going to be within this margin, and he can only get a recount if he pays for it. But then, they had to come out the next day. It's like, oh, you can only pay for a recount for a statewide. That's not a federal thing. But it's one of those things. If they want to play we're waiting for him to concede and waiting for it to be certified, the state governor is a Republican, the state attorney general is a Republican, they can hold it up for a couple of weeks. But at the end of the day, Mitch McConnell was adamant about Scott Brown being set right away, and now he's openly saying we're not going to seat him until after the new year.
Well, let me put it to you this way, to relax you on maybe this health care bill. To relax you on this health care bill going through. To my point, if he had all the Republican votes in hand, I don't know he would be super concerned about Doug Jones's vote. So the fact that he is concerned, I think, may lead to my point that he isn't sure he has all the Republicans in his pocket for this vote, which I kind of believe myself, just given what I'm hearing reports about. Even Rubio, as early as this morning or yesterday, had his concerns with the child portion of the the bill.
He's voting. We're talking about the chip.
Well, that's what Mario has said. Basically, he wants.
I think since like 2 hours ago, he's voted. He's leaning yes that he's going to be supporting them.
Of course, they will all until the ninth hour. I mean, all the people who like the McCains and stuff like that, who the two women from Alaska, the one from Alaska and Maine, who in the ninth hour said no. But Mike Pence was scheduled this coming Tuesday to get on a plane to go to a Mideast summit, and he has postponed that trip, knowing that he might have to be the deciding vote. So he's sticking around, because if they don't sit, Jones, and two senators vote the other way, and it's 50-50. So if Jones comes in and two senators come out either way, let's move on to the next wonderful thing. Net neutrality, no longer a thing. And again, it went down to a partisan vote. 3 Republicans on the FCC, board voted to do away with net neutrality. The 2 Democrats said, of course we have to keep net neutrality. And then, of course, Donnie Littlehand Jr. comes out and he tweets out today. It's like, oh, all these people pissed about net neutrality. It was Obama's pick.
Right.
It's like, no, dude.
First he said net neutrality. I was like, so he misspelled hashtag net neutrality. Secondly, yes, he got Obama mixed up with his father somehow.
Right. He was blaming I'm not even going to try to say the guy's name, who's the head of
Ajit Pai.
Thank you. Who's the head of the FCC, who's also in trouble for using he thinks he's going to put out a funny PSA why net neutrality is bad, and he uses the Harlem Shake song without permission, and the copyright owners of that are like, hey, asshole.
You don't want to get the RIAA on your ass.
You really do not. But that's the thing. It's like, here's Donnie Littlehands saying, these idiots don't even know that it was Obama who put him in there, and they don't even know what net neutrality is. It's like, no, a lot of people have been talking about this for quite some time.
That was Donald Trump Jr., by the way.
Right, that's what I said. I said Donnie Hands Jr.
Oh, Donnie Littlehands.
Yeah, Donnie
Jr.
Littlehands, right, exactly.
I'm a little slow on this because I'm hearing this on a net on a net delay, and our podcast is so insignificant that we do not get the speedy delivery.
So let's just back this up a little bit. When we covered net neutrality before, we talked about how certain data is going to be traveling faster than other data given who's providing that data, whether it's a big business or whether it's a smaller business. It's going to depend on how fast your data travels. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a super tech guy, so I don't know super much about this. Joe, we kind of talked about this a little bit off air. So from your side, give me the consumer version of this. Where do I get affected as a consumer, or where do all these hundreds of thousands of Carnival personnel listeners, where do they get hit in their pockets with this net neutrality?
So now that net neutrality is supposedly going away, it gives internet service providers like Comcast and Verizon a lot more power over who gets to travel in the fast lane when it comes to internet. Which services, for example, like Spotify, where you listen to online streaming music, or Netflix when you watch online streaming video, they'll be charged, or can be charged, a substantial fee to basically have their information travel in the fast lane on the internet. If otherwise they don't, if they hold up Netflix for ransom, basically, and they don't pay, Netflix doesn't pay their exorbitant fees or whatever they feel is an exorbitant fee, even if it's not an exorbitant fee, Netflix just does not want to pay extra so that their customers don't have a harder time watching their stuff. They can put a chokehold on those services, but the bigger thing is that if Netflix has to capitulate and say, okay, fine, we're going to pay your fees, but we're not taking this out of our pockets. We're just going to raise our monthly rates to all our Netflix users to cover this fucking fee that Comcast and Verizon and all these ISPs are making us pay, so that you can get the fastest possible service for our product. And then, like, on the other side, you have smaller sites that aren't Amazon, that aren't the big boys, that are going to have to also maybe potentially have to pay some sort of like a little back pocket fee.
Does your management go to a site? Is it Etsy? Etsy, right? Etsy. Now, somebody like Etsy is not going to be able to afford to compete with an eBay.
It depends, right? Etsy is like a online thing.
But that's what I mean. That's more of a smaller business,
right?
I mean, they might not be able to.
And
compete.
That's probably the stuff that nobody's going to pay. That glosses over most people's eyes. What's going to catch most people's attention, like Jim, is why is it now I'm paying Netflix? I used to pay $9.99, and now I'm paying $15.99. Why? And the potential is that because they have to pay exorbitant fees to internet providers so that they could get better service.
But most likely, Netflix is going to
they're going to fight this.
They may fight this, but if it's a losing battle, they're going to pay the price to be competitive in their market. So, but let's bring it down to our Carnival personnel. What's going to happen to the Carnival personnel product? How is it going to?
It's only going to get better.
How is it going to affect our listeners? Like,
it won't.
Are we going to be slow?
Are we listener?
Are we going to be? Are we? Yeah, well, I just can't spell.
Well, yeah, exactly. What's going to happen to our listeners? Honestly, we're a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, we're listeners. Yeah. Because we stream on services like iTunes and Google Play, podcasts are probably not going to be as affected because they're under a bigger umbrella. But if we weren't on like a big podcast service, if we were on some sort of like an independent website that provides the same kind of service, then they might have a tougher time getting their product to be streamed as fast.
I guess my question is, and maybe this is part of my ignorance, what does that look like? Let's say we sold Carnival personnel T-shirts,
done.
and our customers wanted to.
Oh, if we want to go
customers, our listeners wanted to order them because they're just avid Carnival personnel listeners. Like
Like if we set up a carnivalpersonnel.com.
Yeah, like
what?
How do we get
just now?
How do we
I said it on the air.
How do we affect
that? Again, it would be like, all right. So if we have a small website, it would all depend. Like we would probably have to pay. Either we would have to pay for faster speeds. Probably not the case. What would most likely happen is that we would just be denied a very fast, almost instantaneous internet experience. It'd be like Jacques said in previous episodes, it'd be like dial-up speeds in the 90s comparatively. It wouldn't be as such, but compared to the bigger sites, like eBay would load like right away.
Well, you said it best. Like, and the big companies are in 6-lane highway, and we're taking Route 2. Now here is the sky isn't falling thing. There are certain states that have come out already and have said, well, in our state, if you want to do business in this state, you have to have a level playing field. And there's different attorney generals around the country and different people who are already filing. And it's like one of those things, like with what they used to call Access Television, and now it's Access Media. Is that proper term?
Community media.
Community media. Way back when cable companies started to be a thing, there was deals. Okay, we will let you sell cable in this town, but you have to provide a public service, and that there were some things that the cable companies had to give back to the communities in order to come in there and do business. And that's what some of these states are now coming out and saying. Plus, here's the other thing. The next election, the next real election that means something, is 11 months away. And if this really does start to hurt people or affect people like we think it might, like everything else, and a new wave of, Dems come in and take the House, take the Senate, there's going to be a new FCC chair. And therefore, things like this can be overturned. This isn't... Just because net neutrality went away now doesn't mean it has to be gone forever. So
correct.
It is not the end all be all.
So just lastly, I know this is maybe
this is so boring.
This may be a biased point of view. No, I'm trying to learn about this. Honestly, I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
Right.
I know Mark Cuban has pretty openly spoken against this. I'm guessing that's probably a very biased point of view. And lastly, to Jacques' point, which is kind of important, this Ajit Pai, he is the commissioner, but he also was an attorney for a pretty big company that.
Verizon.
For Verizon.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I get all that. I'm just trying to get my head around the whole thing. I know we took a little bit of time.
It basically gives more power to internet providers and less power to the rest of the internet.
Is Verizon in the internet world? Do they stand? Yes, I'm being. Bye, Felicia.
Don't. Oh, okay. Bye, Felicia.
Go ahead, Joe.
So what Jacques is referring to is something that we as three middle-aged white guys just learned about this week, thanks to Robin Roberts from Good Morning America.
We're in the know. We're street. When you think street,
we're in the NO. We're in the know. So Robin Roberts, who is a anchor on Good Morning America on ABC, was wrapping up a report from the White House, basically saying that Omarosa was there's conflicts whether Omarosa had been let go from the White House or if she quit because she felt like there wasn't enough of a diversity in the White House administration, and she felt kind of lonely out there. But Omarosa is also known as the apprentice contestant from years past, who is basically a very awful, mean, vindictive, terrible person, and wants to put herself out there and get as much media attention so she can sell her product and sell her brand or whatever. And I guess Robin Roberts had a little bit of a chip on her shoulder when it came to Omarosa and hearing the story. So when they threw to her to wrap up, she said something to the effect of, she says she has a story, and I'm sure she's going to sell that story. Bye, Felicia. And Bye, Felicia is a reference to the Ice Cube movie from 1995, Friday, in which a character named Felicia, who's like the neighborhood kind of mooch, she's the epitome of the bitch you just want to tell to fuck off. Because she brings nothing to the table. She's all about herself. She has no concern for anybody else. And in the movie, Ice Cube basically tries to dismiss her and get her out of the conversation and just get her off his porch. And she's, she wants to borrow somebody's car, and she's denied. And then she turns to Ice Cube's character to plead her case. And Ice Cube just looks off into the distance and just goes, "Bye, Felicia." And that's become some sort of internet meme as of more recently, probably in the last 5 years.
cold. Like, and the look on her face was just it was priceless.
Yeah, if there was an Emmy for shade,
yeah,
she would be the winner for the next 2 years.
So I start seeing that like on Twitter. It's like, oh my God, did Roberts just say bye, Felicia?
And by the way, you're welcome, Carnival personnel listeners, to have bye, Felicia explained to you by a 40-year-old white guy, and made it extremely boring. I mean, it's like, finally tonight, bye, Felicia. John Oliver would have made it more cooler than I just did. More cooler.
But that now has become part of my lexicon going forward because
oh, good. Now that Jacques saying bye, Felicia, we can say bye, Felicia. So what's next on our agenda?
So we've been spending the month of December doing sideshows dedicated to Christmas topics. We've been dedicating a little space in each regular Carnival personnel talking about our favorite Christmas specials. And to that effect, we were going to talk about a Christmas special this week that we'll talk about at the end that we're going to do a sideshow of. And instead of talking about a specific Christmas special, when Joe and I were talking the other day, I'm like, oh man, we haven't brought up, I don't know if it's a Christmas song or just a monologue. It's my favorite Christmas monologue is Steve Martin. If I had one wish.
Yeah, it's a skit. The famous Steve Martin skit. If I had one wish, it would be for all of the children of the world to hold hands in perfect harmony. If I were to have two wishes, it would be for $1 billion.
It would be the children, of course.
The children, of course. No, if I could have two wishes, it would be,
the children, of course, and $30 million a month, tax-free, in a Swiss bank account, and my name.
If I could have three wishes, it would be to have, the crap with the kids, the money, and a year-long orgasm.
Brought on to me by, and I forget who he mentioned, it's like ladies at the time, and Paulina, the swimsuit model. So we started talking about our favorite SNL Christmas, because I think SNL has made Christmas its bitch about 40 years ago. I don't know if that's the right way to put it,
yeah.
But it literally, it has owned Christmas way back from Eddie Murphy's Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood when he comes in as
who is it?
Santa, when he comes in Santa Claus. I'm like Santa Claus, except I take stuff from your house. He has a Salvation Army like starter kit. Right. He goes, I can clear $300 a day. It's a shame Christmas only comes once a year.
Is that Eddie Murphy over there? I can't see so good.
Jim, do you have any favorite SNL Christmas moments or skits?
What's my favorite guy, Kevin Nealon there, the Kevin Nealon skit there with where they believe in Santa Claus and they come downstairs every morning, every Christmas, and there's nothing there because they don't get that there isn't a Santa Claus that they're supposed, as parents, they're supposed to put the presents out. For some reason, I like that one. That's the first one that jumped into my head.
I mean, I was thinking more like Hanukkah Harry.
Yeah, right. And the Hanukkah song was a skit. It was part of the news. It was, Sandler came on and did it on the on SNL, on the Saturday Night Live news,
and it's since done like 5 renditions of it.
I mean, it's funny if you Google it, find it on the YouTubes, or you just hear different versions where he's done it in front of stadiums. Some of my other favorite SNL skits, Sweaty Balls has to be one of I don't know if Alec Baldwin has had a better shining moment.
No, yeah, forget his Trump impersonation. This
Sweaty Balls.
Sweaty Balls. Everybody likes them. Ooh, they're salty.
Well, I put it in my mouth. They're really warm.
We should talk like that on our podcast. Hi, welcome to Carnival Personnel.
Chris Farley had a great skit where he was what was the motivational speaker?
Matt Foley.
And have you seen this, Jim? Where he's Santa?
Yeah. I remember it kinda.
Oh yeah, he was. It's typical. That skit where he gets more agitated with the kid and his kids. It's kids around him asking for toys, which didn't go so well.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Andy Samberg, Justin Timberlake's "Dick in a Box."
That honestly, I think that launched a whole new level of happiness in my world.
That cemented Andy Samberg's role as like a digital short guy and musical artist from that sketch, and also cemented Justin Timberlake as a bona fide comic actor.
Justin Timberlake, for a good 4 or 5 years, hosted the Christmas special, and he owned it. Like management, one of our collective favorite skits is he had a running skit where he was always like
the guy with he dressed like the hamburger helper guy.
Right. A gigantic. Like one time he was a big package, like a gift wrapping thing, and one time he was
a hot dog.
Giving it up for Homelessville, where him and Santa were competing on the same corner. And I'm trying to think of who played Santa. Had a tiny little speaker, and he just.
It's probably Horatio Sands.
It wasn't. I'm trying to think, but it was great. Uh-huh. But yeah, I mean, he was those Justin Timberlake, running Christmas, and it was always the same kind of skit, but a different outrageous like subway sandwich costume. But as far as Horatio Sands, that little band between, it was Horatio Sands, Jimmy Fallon, Tracy Morgan, and who was the fourth one? Chris Kattan.
Yes.
I can't.
And then there was also, going back even further, there was Kevin Nealon, John Lovitz, and Phil Hartman, who played Tarzan, Tonto, and Frankenstein, singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." Fire bad.
Man, whatever happened to Phil Hartman?
He was shot in the face by his wife, and then she killed herself.
I was asking rhetorically.
Oh, whoops!
Talk about Christmas, kids.
To end on a Phil Hartman note, a very this actually made me cry. Like I'm going to admit that I cried when I saw that, or I teared up. I didn't cry, guys. Don't cry. We tear up. When Jan Hooks died, that Christmas they played like a very heartwarming black and white skit. It was like a film sketch where Phil Hartman played like a wooden soldier, and Jan Hooks played like this wind-up doll, and they had like a dance, and then they had like a kind of a waltz ballroom moment, and it was beautiful. But it was just like to see them both on the screen, and like and it was like there was no dialogue. It was just like music and dancing, and it was just like I'm a human being. I don't like this feeling. Get back to the fart jokes.
But it's great on news radio too.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've heard. If you ever hear John Lovitz talk about when he got called to replace Phil Hartman on news radio, and it was like,
oh my God.
But all of his friends were like, as awfully cliche as it is, it's like he would want this. Like he would definitely want somebody he knows and really loves to do this, and you have to take this job type thing. But he really didn't want to. It's like
nobody should have taken that job. It was it was just a bad scene. But it was a tragedy. They had to move on, and that was that.
Well, now I'm going to have to pay for some therapy.
How will we do that?
We're going to have to go to Funk Sponsor of the Week.
Christmas shopping is rough on the feet. By the time we were through, I was really beat. Finished the list, my wife said we're set. Now I wanted a cigarette. Where were mine? Out in the car. She said, tell me how you think these are. Viceroy? That's a change for you.
Try them. You changed too.
She said, Viceroy tastes the way you'd like a filter cigarette to taste. Not too strong, not too light. Viceroy's got...
the taste that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, Christmas morning was merry and bright. The perfect gift, the taste that's right. Now I know, and I'll take all bets, if you smoke all 7 filter cigarettes, you'll find some too strong, some too light. But Viceroy's got the deep weave filter and the taste that's right. Not too strong, not too light. Viceroy's got the taste that's right.
And jumping right back into the Christmas holiday, the Patriots were in a very charitable mood last Sunday, giving a gift to the maybe 5,000 Miami Dolphin fans that bothered to show up for the game last week, which was nice of them to show up because the Patriots didn't.
Not all of them. I mean, some of them were suspended. Some of them were injured.
But seriously, and of course, the worst thing about... Again, now Tom Brady is now 7-9 in Miami, but Tom Brady played awful, and the line wasn't there. Again, Gronk wasn't there, but it started the whole talk of like, see, this is it. This is the beginning of the end. I caught up with him. He's not going to be able to go. Like the next 3 games are going to be blah blah blah. They should have kept. There's actually people like they should have kept Garoppolo. This is it. This is, and it's like he sucked. He had a bad game. He really had a bad game, and all the excuses you can make. No Garoppolo, no Gronk, a couple offensive linemen. But he was throwing it behind people. He was throwing it in front. Tom Brady played a bad game. He's going to play a bad game. He is one of the 2-3 best quarterbacks this year in the NFL. He's still going to have a bad game. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, who's been amazing the last 5-6 weeks, had a 6-interception game earlier, or 5-interception game earlier this year. But that's who the Patriots play this week is the Steelers. And the thing is, okay, was that a hiccup in the road? Did they overlook Miami? They played them just 2 weeks ago. Thoughts on the Steelers coming up Sunday, gentlemen? Anyone?
This is for all the marbles. This has got huge implications. If the Patriots are able to pull it off, it brings everybody to, I believe, they'll both be 10-3, right? Obviously, they will hold at that point. They'll control their own destiny. If the Patriots can win this game, they hold their destiny in their.
Right. It will be 11-3.
Well, if they win this game, they'll hold their destiny in their hands.
Right. If they win out, then they would have.
It's it. So this is for everything. This is for where the AFC Championship game is going to be played, most likely.
Now, as Patriot fans, we're assholes and cocky and overconfident, and that's, I think, one of the problems. It's like, okay, for the last 5 to 6 seasons, week 9 we're playing Denver, and that's going to decide who's going to host the AFC title game. The AFC title game, for the one listener who maybe isn't a football person, the AFC title game is the 3rd round of the playoffs. So we're assuming, okay, so the Patriots beat Pittsburgh. They're going to walk over Buffalo. They're going to walk over the Jets. They don't play week 1. They're going to walk over whoever they play in the divisional round. We're worried about a game that's going to be played in 5 weeks from now.
I get it.
But you're right. But it's.
I'm going to throw a caveat out there, and this goes. I'm going to say this as a warning to both Pittsburgh and the Patriots. Neither team, whether it's on their home field or not, is going to walk over the Jaguars. That defense is for real.
Yeah, you keep waiting for them to fade.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to happen only because of the defense. I understand the quarterback issues with Blake Bortles. But he's done very, very, very well this year as managing as a manager, as a game manager. If that continues, which I think it probably could, there's a lot of good influence there between Marone as well as Tom Coughlin in the top spot there.
That's a name that gives Pats fans nightmare right there. Not anybody on the defense. You said the name that keeps us up at night.
The only good news is that he's what is he? He's
president of operations.
He's 2-0 against us in Super Bowls, but I believe he's 0-1 against us in AFC Conference Championships games. If you remember, back in the day, there we had when Bledsoe was the quarterback.
Right,
in
but Tom Coughlin, and again, goes down there, and in a year, the Jaguars are the team that everybody keeps talking about moving to London. Mm-hmm. They've played a game in London almost every year for, I want to say, 5 or 6 years now. They were always the team that go over there, and the joke is, wait, we want people in London to like the NFL. Why are we sending the Jaguars? Why? And the Jaguars usually lose. I don't want to exaggerate, by 78 points a game when they go over there.
They've had a rough couple of years, there's no doubt, but the whole time they've been building that defense. That there's a lot of number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 draft picks in that defense that goes beyond Marone taking over this year.
But Tom Coughlin being there, it's also one of those things that starts with a good organization. It doesn't just start with the coach. It starts with the GM. It starts with the president, and it's a culture. And he has turned the culture around down there in a year.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and he has, and Fournette has been a big addition at running back, and it's a lot of fun for them down there right now. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked to see them upset somebody. I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, and again, you say the end any given Sunday, again, the cliche, sports cliches, but Kansas City has been one of the best teams in first 10 weeks, they were the best team in football. Last 4 weeks, not so much. The other team that I don't want to play? The Chargers.
Yeah.
The Chargers started off 2-6 2-7, something crazy like that. But their 5 losses, including the one to the Patriots that we got lost because we were too intent listening to Joe and I come back from the Jets game, that went down. They've lost. Out of their 6 losses, 5 or 6 of them were by a field goal or less. They came down. They've been in every single game they've played. And instead of finding a way to lose the last 4 or 5 weeks, they found a way to win. So it's not the cakewalk. I mean, I don't want to play the Chargers. I don't want to play Kansas City again. I mean, you're hoping that a fluke happens and
I just basically to maybe put both the Patriots fans and the Steelers fans at issue. I basically just gave the Jaguars a kiss of death. If you remember at the beginning of the year how highly I spoke of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Why wouldn't you? They came out week 1 to Gillette and put a beat down on the Super Bowl champs.
I was convinced. I was convinced that day, that going into that game game was for a home field advantage in the playoffs in the AFC.
People at the time, and
I was convinced. I really was.
They came out 7-1, 8-1. I mean, they were like 7-1, and the KC Chiefs are a team I've dealt with before, and it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago they started saying, "Hey, we got to start looking at anthem singers for the
Berry."
playoffs.
I know they lost. What is it? Eric Berry? Is that his name? The safety there that they lost. He battled cancer previously. I believe it's Eric. It's Berry. I believe it's Eric Berry. When they lost him, I was like, I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow, but they'll be fine, and that hasn't been the case at all. I think what are they 2-6, 2-6 cents, something like it. I've given them the kiss of death.
The wheels have come on. Well,
I'm convinced.
Give the rest of the AFC a kiss of death. People are like, oh, you want a challenge going into the Super Bowl? No, I don't. If I could have like the worst team the week before upset somebody and the last play of the game, their quarterback gets knocked out, I'll take it. I will take, like, if you saw who I went to the prom with, I don't care how you get there.
All right. Now that we talked about the second best sport in America, can we jump into the first best sport, which is, in my view, boxing, real quick. Last weekend,
hey, you know what? I think I'm surprised as far as boxing goes that it does not attract more people in the gay community. I mean, you're talking 2 buff guys oiled up fighting over a purse. I mean, if that doesn't say...
Wow. And you didn't even dust that off. You just went right for it. What did you have to say about boxing?
Boxing I did last weekend. What was I going to say? Oh, I'm sorry. Rigondeaux fought Lomachenko. Lomachenko is the Russian 2-time gold medal champion. I believe he's already 33 years old. He spent so much time in the in the amateurs, but what a prime. And Rigondeaux is no slouch. He came into the fight undefeated. He also is a 2-time Cuban gold medalist in the Olympics. 2 different classes fought that night. The Lomachenko is just a primed young man.
Are these heavyweights?
No, they're not. They fight at actually 130 pounds. Probably ultimately you're going to start seeing them fight for big money at 135, 140 pounds. But they are currently fighting anywhere between 120 and 130.
They sounded like Chinese food orders. I'll have some Lomachenko and who's the other guy?
If you're
Patrick
not
Cow?
Rigondeaux. His first name's escaping.
I said no Rigondeaux on my Lomachenko.
yeah, guys. If you're not boxing fans, if these are the type of exciting guys that you would. Lomachenko is going to be the type of guy that you're gonna watch if you're not a boxing fan.
The tough thing that boxing has is exactly that. You're talking about these 2 guys, and I hate to say it, but the facts are the facts. You're watching 2 chihuahuas, and people want to see two like literally
mastiffs,
right? Mastiffs going at it, and it's funny.
That's where the UFC comes in.
Well, I did a project for the WEC, which got integrated with the UFC about 6-7 years ago, because the WEC had the 125, 30-pound guys. I did 6 fighting profiles on these guys. The most amazing, scary athletes you ever seen. They're all like 5'5", 5'6", ripped like Jesus, and you see him in the ring, and it's like, man, you could get your 12 best friends in the ring with them, and this guy would eat them for lunch. But the person at home, until boxing gets heavyweights, excited about heavyweights.
Yep. right now that's not it's not as dominant as it was in the 80s and 90s with the Tysons, the Holyfields, obviously the Tommy Morrisons. Then that whole
you are the only one who puts the golden age of heavyweights and throws in Tommy Morrison.
He's got to throw in a Tommy Morrison reference.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to go back to. There's Jerry Quarry. There's a lot of guys. The earlier 70s you can go back to. I believe Quarry even beat Foreman at one point.
You either need one of two things. You need heavyweights, or you need personalities like the motherfucking personalities. Right, exactly. Well, a Mayweather had it for a while, but when you go back and you think of Marvelous Marvin Hagler and all those guys who just have to be bigger than life. You either got to have the heavyweights or that I shouldn't say that. I don't know. This could be a huge worldwide thing, but when you're talking a Russian and a Cuban to an American audience of not heavyweights,
outside of Miami or outside of a large Russian area, you're not going to fill the stadium. I get it, but these guys are filling the stadiums. This Lomachenko, he's going to be exciting for a long time to come.
Where was this fight?
They fought, I believe. Where did they fight? They fought in Madison Square Garden,
really?
one of the little set stages out to the theater. I believe it's called what? The theater at Madison Square Garden. It wasn't a great fight, but it was a fight that really showed that Lomachenko is here and he's not going anywhere. And I don't anticipate anybody being able to take his lunch money for quite a while.
Let's talk about lunch and Lomachenko. I want to order Chinese.
There we go again. All right, now we got to get to my favorite time of the week, which is Joe's random video game review of the week.
Oh, yay, I get to talk.
All right, I'm going to go find it.
Whatever.
Well, while he goes to get that, my lock of last week is 31-28 Pats.
31-28. You heard it here last.
Yeah, but the game's going to be played in Pittsburgh. Anyways, more importantly, Jim is at Joe's wall of NES games. Oh, I don't even think I distracted you. You didn't even have an idea where he pulled this from.
No.
And you know what? Funny, I closed my own eyes, so I didn't.
Right. Thanks for not knocking over the shelf. So I'm going to guess by the old slot on the wall. Wow. That doesn't sound right. It's on the lower tier. It's in the T's. It's, I'm going to guess Tiger Heli. Nah?
No.
What is it?
It is, I don't know if I knew that they did this, but Tecmo Baseball.
Oh, yeah. Tecmo Baseball. Never played it. Review over. Let's talk about a better game. Tecmo Super Bowl. Now, that is a game.
But you've never played the
Tecmo. I have not played
but
Tecmo.
You've played Tecmo football, and you love hockey. Isn't that like your favorite hockey, the Tecmo hockey?
There is no Tecmo hockey.
What's a hockey one?
Blades of Steel. No, I mean Tecmo Baseball. I'm sure it's a very fine game. It's a baseball game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. If you do want to play a Tecmo sports game, Tecmo Super Bowl is where it at. I actually have Tecmo Bowl right in the box on the top shelf. It's a black box with green letters.
Was it Tecmo basketball that Peter Griffin knew the hack to?
That was a double dribble.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, Tecmo Baseball. Whatever. It's a baseball game. A really fine baseball game, on the other hand, is Baseball Stars. That's a really fine baseball. And, of course, Bases Loaded is what Jim and I grew up on.
You bum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say that. You bum. I'm not going to review Bases Loaded. Anyways, Tecmo Baseball. Oh, you put the book away?
You dialed out.
I know.
Out of
whatever.
It, so
Tecmo Baseball. I don't know. I'm wasting everybody's time
What
now.
game are you playing this week?
Actually, I downloaded a game for my computer. It's an older game called Broforce.
Which is?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Contra game where you have to run and gun and basically shoot up like a bunch. It's an over-the-top like 80s parody. Like it's in the style of a 16-bit game, but it's a new game. You infiltrate these areas via helicopter and you come down, but you're playing as caricatures of 80s action stars. Like you're playing like a Brobocop, or you're playing as like Rambro. Like all of these big 80s names have bro in there.
And it's called Bro Patrol?
Broforce.
Now, yes or no, when Grunt goes out on his party bus, has he, yes or no, ever referred to him and his pals as Broforce?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a lamp of all lamps.
Right, I'm going to say that. So that's what I'm playing, and it was like $4. So a good buy. It was on sale. So, anyways, I play on my computer. I'm alone.
Do you still play the Mega Man games?
I do.
You know what? I was just those were a lot of fun.
Those are really, really. I have 1 through 5 on the shelf, and then my son is playing Mega Man X, which was the Super Nintendo version. Yeah, it came with the Super Nintendo Mini that I got recently, and he's getting into like Super Nintendo games like Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, and all that stuff. So
yeah, that was just a game that was really fun. That and what was it? Was it Treasure Island or Adventure Island?
Oh, Adventure Island. Hudson's Adventure
Island.
Island.
Like it just kind of the screen just keeps going forward, kind of right.
Yeah, like
just kind of
right. It's like Mario. Where
type deal,
but you're like this fat Hawaiian guy.
Yeah, and you're like on a
you're on a
Fred Flintstone type skateboard or something.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you have to jump over rocks. And
You
have to collect fruit.
Yeah, I remember playing that.
Yeah, that's a fun game too, but that was a kind of a bitch.
So I have not watched anything this week. I can't do a Netflix review. Well, the only thing we're watching is we're going through Christmas movies, and management decided, and the boys haven't seen it, and stunningly, I've never seen, and this is going to be one of those get out of the house moments. It might be a bye Felicia moment from Joe to me. We watched Gremlins the other night.
You just watched Gremlins.
Just watched Gremlins.
Christmas.
Well, that's why she's
Christmas.
like, you guys want to watch a Christmas movie? And she's like, she throws that in. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know this was a Christmas movie. And it takes place.
That's one of the movies that started the whole PG-13 movement. Because it was rated PG when it came out in the theaters in '84. I went and saw it when I was, 8. And the part where they microwave the gremlin and it explodes, that was a little over the top. There was just a lot of like grotesque, really scary. It's a really scary movie.
The funny thing is, the little guys kind of dialed out of it. And management is like, you watch The Walking Dead and you can't get through Gremlins?
They dialed out of it because it was boring?
No, they were...
They were nonplussed, or they were scary?
There was some scary parts, and they're like, oh. And we were like, really? You play Resident Evil on a regular basis?
Maybe because they found it to be like they're in a real-world situation.
Right.
They're minuscule little monsters, like they're small. Like they're smaller than them. Gremlins. Like maybe... Yeah, exactly. I mean, Gremlins were just... that's a great classic movie.
So I don't have a review of the week, but I don't know if because I know the Brian Regan special came out. I know Judd Apatow has a special that I want to watch that just came out.
I haven't been watching much. I just subscribed to Hulu, so now with my older son, we're watching old Seinfeld episodes on demand, which is fun to do.
Isn't Sarah Silverman's show?
Yeah, so I haven't watched it yet. Sarah Silverman's "I Love You, America." I haven't watched it yet. I know I probably would get into it, but I don't know. I'm just sort of dialed out on a lot of like the topical stuff online. I don't know. Ever since Jon Stewart left the Daily Show, I kind of just tuned out of like all the topical political stuff that's on TV now. I'm an old man.
I know. You got any last parting shots? You got a parenting tip of the week?
What are you watching?
Something?
You're watching?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've slowed down a little bit on my Netflix watch, and I think I already talked about it. I intend, hopefully, even maybe tonight, getting into the second season of The Queen is coming out. I do not recommend anybody watch it. It's probably going to bore the hell out of you. For some reason, I like it.
I heard The Queen was pretty good. I'm thinking of The Crown.
Yeah. Maybe is that what I mean? The Crown.
The Crown, I think, is what. That's like the new. Like that's like.
Season
2 just came out.
Season 2 just came out December 8th. I said The Queen. It's The Crown.
I think it's The Crown.
Yeah, I watched season 1. I thought it was excellent. Most people that I've talked to that I've gotten to watch an episode or two. This is the show that I was talking about with. What's his name there? He played Winston Churchill. Is it Lithgow?
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow, and I think it's like the episode 9 of season 1. He has an amazing scene that he does just this incredible job. But anyways, it's not a very fast-moving season, but I thought it was excellent. I thought it was excellent from beginning to end. But anybody I recommended it to didn't necessarily agree with me.
Probably because you were telling them to watch The Queen. Like, I can't find this.
Yeah.
You suck.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, and maybe to tease what's coming up this week.
Please do.
Today we're recording on what we like to call around here Star Wars Day, because The Last Jedi has just premiered round the globe, and we haven't seen it yet.
No, and we're going to do a sideshow and a complete review and breakdown of Star Wars this week.
Right. The holiday special.
From
1978.
Yeah. So you got a lot to look forward to. It is, you've probably heard it's really bad. And
virtually unwatchable.
And it's It's worse.
Yeah. I mean, you since revisited it a little bit.
And I'm glad I did. I really am. So that's going to be this week's sideshow. My parenting tip of the week is Christmas is right around the corner. I'm trying really hard not to be too stressed out about it. I keep trying to remind myself, and my parenting tip of the week, it's like, this is everything for the little bastards. So I'm trying to keep things in check and give them the Christmas that in like 40 years they can look back and say, I don't know how my parents did that with all this crap going on, but yet we had an amazing Christmas. So suck up being a selfish dick to myself, I'm saying, and give your kids the Christmas season that they'll want to remember.
You don't have anything to add?
As far as I don't have the same thing. Like I said, don't let the stress of the holidays bother you. When they're trying to knock over the tree with swords, and your first instinct is to go into a blind rage, just resist and move forward.
Well, in my house, there's a better chance that I'm going to knock over the tree playing with swords. So maybe you get on the phone with my management and let her know to take it easy on me so that the shit doesn't roll downhill and I take it out on them. Joseph?
I don't have any parenting tip because I just ignore my children all the time. They're older. I mean, that's the thing is that my kids are, middle school, high school aged. So I think you can stop.
Too old to love is what you're saying.
Too old to parent. I think you can just stop parenting. I think my wife and I have done such a good job parenting them that they sort of self-parent.
Agreed. Agreed.
Right.
At one point, you're just doing harm.
Yeah, exactly. That's my opinion. Is just to sort of stand out of the way. Just get out of the way and let nature take its course. And I just supply them with money and sometimes food, maybe shelter. So and
you don't hit them.
No,
what more can you really ask for in 2017?
Right, exactly. I take care of my kids.
You want a cookie? So to wrap it up, the GOP is awful. We all agree.
Well, we don't all agree.
NRA is a terrorist organization. Stay tuned for this week's sideshow. But above all else, do not forget.
Oh, shit, I forgot.
Deck